Ranking Thom Yorke's discography. I'm not claiming to be the definitive Radiohead scholar or musical historian that is going to do a deep dive through Thom Yorke's career or musical abilities. I'm just a guy that really enjoys listening to music, and Radiohead is one of my favorite artists to release music during my lifetime. I wanted to make sense of Yorke's discography and better understand it, so I decided to rank all the albums he's released, excluding movie soundtracks. This includes 3 solo studio albums, 9 Radiohead albums, 1 collaborative album with Atoms for Peace, 3 records with The Smile, and his most recent release with Mark Pritchard. If you want to dig deeper into the people behind the music, their creative process, and expert musical analysis or their artistic evolution, then I'd recommend Alex Ross's The Searchers from The New Yorker in 2001, where he traveled with the band during the Kid A and Amnesiac era, and he analyzed their music from a classical perspective. Rob Sheffield has been writing about the band for Rolling Stone for over 30 years. David Fricke documented their recording process. Simon Reynolds has helped to place the band within the larger history of electronic and experimental music. Kevin Dettmar has examined their music from a modern perspective, and Mac Randall wrote a full biography about the band. With that being said, this is not an attempt to rank artistic importance or influence. It's my personal ranking of Thom Yorke related albums, from 17 to 1, by how much I enjoy listening to them in 2026. Fourth tier. Number 17, Mark Pritchard and Thom Yorke, Tall Tales from 2025. I appreciate this album, and I love that Yorke is always putting out new music, but it was easy to put this one at number 17. Tall Tales has a definitely different feel than the rest of the music here. It's more atmospheric. At over an hour of runtime, this one has more time to drift about sonically. A lot of the songs feel like they would fit really well as a motion picture soundtrack. You could tell Pritchard and Yorke made this album for themselves with little concern over how it would fare commercially. There are certainly some highlights in the album, the bouncy gangsters and the similarly upbeat This Conversation is Missing Your Voice. If you're listening on Spotify, the spooky animations really set the mood for the album. Number 16, Thom Yorke, Tomorrow's Modern Boxes, 2014. Maybe the album I have listened to the least of the catalog. It is a haunting and somber experience. I really like the opener. There's not as much instrumentation as on his other projects. It's a lot of layered vocals and piano melodies. A lot of people consider Radiohead music for when you're sad, which I've never really agreed with, but this album is a bit of a downer. Yorke sounds isolated, not buoyed up by layered guitar textures or a band experimenting alongside him. The album opens sounding like the opening of Tame Impala's Lonerism. It quickly takes a turn into ambience and falsetto crooning. The Motherlode is a pulsing heartbeat that feels like an underwater experience. There is no ice for my drink feels like it was recorded in a forest during a drug-induced drum circle. Number 15, The Smile, Cutouts from 2024. I'll admit I did not love this album when I first heard it, but after a few listens it really grew on me. It's clear that this record was made during the same sessions as Wall of Eyes, reminiscent of Kid A and Amnesiac, with Wall of Eyes being Kid A in this scenario. I'm really glad that they broke it up into 2 albums instead of trying to make one giant sprawling record. Cutouts has a lot of standout songs, but they don't really come together to mesh into a standout album. The sum of its parts is greater than the whole of it. It's an album you could skip around on, and a lot of the songs feel just one notch away from being classics. It's a great record, and I've listened to it several times, with the second half being much stronger than the first half. Third tier, Radiohead, Pablo Honey from 1993. It's as good as most alternative rock albums from this era. It's a good encapsulation of the early 1990s guitar sound that was dominating the airwaves at this time. It's fun to hear the 5 ultra-talented and brilliant musicians trying their hand at traditional alt-rock, albeit with 3 guitarists. Also, can any band match the ch on Creep? It doesn't have the timelessness of the rest of their discography. Stop Whispering might be Thom Yorke's closest sign of showing what is to come. You can hear the anger in his voice. It's fun to hear straightforward music from a band that would go on to later make very not much straightforward music, like the lyrics on Anyone Could Play Guitar. Number 13, Thom Yorke, The Eraser, 2006. Perhaps Yorke's creative peak in productivity. The production feels more like one individual making an electronic record rather than a team using electronic instruments. On the clock, the production is the main event. It's almost as if cavemen programmed the instrumentation in the drum machine. The Eraser is a very hypnotizing and repetitive and great album that measures up against some of Radiohead's weaker projects. Number 12, Radiohead, The King of Limbs, 2011. The more I listen to this record, the more I enjoy it. The group at this point had achieved immortality in the music world, yet they were still unsatisfied and continued to experiment with the recording process and instrumentation. Yorke was increasingly becoming interested in electronic music. The groove on Morning Mr. Magpie and Yorke's anger on the song are great. He's really pissed off at this bird for showing up. The guitar and percussion tracks on Little by Little sound George Harrison inspired. My two favorite songs on the album are Lotus Flower and Separator, which I think both would have fit in well on In Rainbows, or on any of their albums from the aughts. Number 11. Radiohead, Hail to the Thief, 2003. This album is spooky. 2 plus 2 equals 5 is such a perfect song and intro to the project. I've been listening to the entire Yorke catalog to make this list, and it's fun to hear such traditional instrumentation in their music. The combination of electronic and acoustic on this album opener is such a perfect encapsulation of what makes the band so special. Sit Down, Stand Up could be the anthem for a movie about North Korea. It has such a dystopian feel. Sail to the Moon would fit in well on OK Computer, a piano ballad that melts into distorted space excursions. Backdrifts is a fun song driven by a fast-paced drum machine that would fit in well on The King of Limbs. Second tier. 10. Thom Yorke, Anima, 2019. This album feels more pulsating than the other two studio albums that Yorke had released prior to this. It could be a boiler room set. The electronics sounds more futuristic than the previous two. Anima sounds more like a Thom Yorke album than a potential Radiohead or The Smile B-side. The album takes a dark turn with the second song. Last I heard, he was circling the drain. The production on Twist, especially around the 4-minute mark, is so full and captivating, I could just see it filling up the speakers of a stadium concert. It reminds me of the John Hopkins Immunity album, which is one of my favorite electronic records. Number 9, The Smile, A Light for Attracting Attention, 2022. It's fun to hear them jamming out on You Will Never Work in Television Again. It sounds like 1990s Radiohead. Thom Yorke spitting out the F word with venom feels good. You could tell Greenwood and Yorke are vibing off Tom Skinner's energy. It's a really fun album and was exciting after such a long hiatus from Radiohead, their last project being a moon-shaped pool in 2016. There's a lot of highlights, but I think the band is still finding their sound here. The riff on The Smoke lives rent-free in my head, and then the riff on Thin Thing is crazy. Johnny Greenwood could play the guitar like nobody else. No wonder he makes such great movie soundtracks. Number 8, Radiohead, Amnesiac, 2001. This was the first time I ever listened to an entire Radiohead project from start to finish, so it holds a special place in my heart. I knew of Radiohead from Creep, No Surprises, and All I Need. Then I heard Packed Like Sardines in a Crushed Tin Box, and I lost my fucking shit. I immediately had to devour everything this band had ever made. I was fresh out of high school and got most of my music at this time from K-Rock, Jack FM, and K-Day, or whatever music my brother torrented onto my iPod or downloaded from LimeWire. Listening to it now transports me back to where I was when I first heard it. Number 7, Atoms for Peace, Amok, 2013. Flea was my favorite musician when I was a teenager, so when I found out these two were making an album together, I was beyond stoked. I've listened to this album a lot. I always used to think amok stood for something, but it's just like, things have run amok. That's fun. This album is hypnotizing. It's one of the few Yorke projects that makes me want to dance. It's perfect bike riding music. Ingenui is one of my favorite songs of all time. That analog synthesizer and bass is exactly what I wanted out of this project. Thinking of Flea and Yorke in the studio together makes me happy. Number 6, The Smile, Wall of Eyes, 2024. The best Yorke project of the 2020s. The Smile found their sound and established themselves as more than just a side project for Yorke and Greenwood. More orchestral than electronic. I love the crescendos at the end of a lot of the songs. It's just such a complete and cohesive album with highs, lows, and a strong vibe throughout. It doesn't feel angry or lonely like some of the other Yorke albums. It's almost an acceptance of the shit soup that we're living in. Skinner's drumming on Bending Hectic perfectly builds the song's energy that culminates in a jam session that would satisfy the most traditional rock and roll fan. An album where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, but its parts are luxurious and rich and full. First tier. Radiohead, OK Computer, 1997. How dare this not be higher? I don't know. I love this album. It's really good. Even the interlude on Fitter Happier predicted the fucked up future that we live in. We're all paranoid androids now. Is the subterranean homesick alien an alien that lives underground and he missed his home planet? It's not. I googled it and there's like 4,000 essays already written on the subject about how they were trying to emulate the sound of Bitches Brew. The name was inspired by Bob Dylan's Subterranean Homesick Blues. It's a perfect album and it's timeless and everybody should listen to it at least 100 times. Number 4, Radiohead In Rainbows 2007. This is literally the perfect album and the perfect encapsulation of Radiohead as a band. It captures both their instrumental and electronic prowess right in the middle of their brilliance. It's a return for the band from their electronic era, released via a pay what you want system on the internet. It's more human than their other projects. Nigel Godrich's production is insane. The drums on Weird Fishes are unbelievable, etc., etc. You should listen to it as soon as you finish watching this video. Number 3, Radiohead The Bends 1995. Came out 5 days before I was born, a couple weeks before Eazy-E and Selena died. The Bridge. It's the rubber soul of their catalog. It's much less straightforward but still totally digestible for a traditional rock and roll listener. The difference is what's their favorite song. Is it Planet Telex or Street Spirit? My middle school students love this album, I guess for the melancholy of it. Street Spirit Fade Out is the band discovering what their future sound is going to be. It is hopelessly hopeful. Yorke's crooning is despairing. Greenwood's guitar is the beginning of the band capturing a classical sound. They are no longer the band that made Creep. It's not traditional rock music. It's something special. Number 2, Radiohead Kid A 2000. Everything in its right place. Yesterday, I woke up sucking a lemon. There are 2 colors in my head. What is that you tried to say? Those are all the lyrics on the opening track, yet Yorke is all over it. The band had just released OK Computer and everybody was wondering how they would top it. Well, they did. As I said earlier, Amnesiac was my first Radiohead album I heard, and this was the second. It's the first music I listened to aside from the Beatles that retooled my understanding of what music could even be. Number 1, Radiohead A Moon-Shaped Pool 2016. I listen to this album when I'm happy, when I'm sad, every single time I'm on an airplane, when I'm writing, when I'm exercising, when I'm reading. I love that it doesn't sound similar to anything else on the entire list. It is the end of Yorke's marriage. It is likely the end of Radiohead. It is classical music. It is rock and roll. It is a movie. It is a low-flying panic attack. It is melancholy. It is resilience. It is aging gracefully. It is not revolutionary. It is beautiful.